All right, we are should be live. Let me see. Is it live? It says it's live. Should be live. Let me see. Is it live? Is it live? It says it's live. Should be live. Let me see. Is it live? Yeah, seems like it's fun. Is it live? Yeah, we're gonna go. So I found this subreddit here, and I wanted to talk about it. I found this subreddit a while ago, and I don't think anybody's talked about it. But it's low IQ people on. I don't go to Reddit all the time, but sometimes you find these weird subreddits. So, I just wanted to read through it for a little bit. We're going to be doing a final Vendetta. Actually, while I'm doing this, let's go to GOG. And I'm going to install Final Vendetta from GOG Galaxy. Because I don't have it on this computer, and I'm going to try to do a normal clear on it. Is it already installed? No, it's not. So we're going to look for it here. Should be here, right? Final Vendetta, a very high quality not shmup, but beat 'em up. All right, install the game. So that shouldn't take long. Yeah, it should take like a few minutes, but while it's installing, we'll just talk about low IQ people. So this subreddit has over 5,000 people. Do you have poor working memory, poor logical reasoning skills, process information slowly, and struggle with puzzles? I don't know why puzzles in particular. This is the place for you to discuss your experience and interests and meet similar people. This sub is primarily about low fluid intelligence. This sub is also open to those with learning disabilities that cause significant day-to-day impairment. Now, I'm not trying to make fun of these people, but the thing that I noticed about this subreddit was the stories that I would see people post would just be them. Like, none of these people seem stupid. They just seemed insecure about their intelligence. That was it. So I don't know. It's kind of funny, really. So I'm just going to go through a couple of these. I won't do this for long, maybe like 10 minutes or something. So good evening, everyone. It's just awful to see your life going in the wrong direction, in a direction you absolutely hate, and be completely powerless to change anything. It's not even about motivation or lack of actions, but truly a lack of capabilities. I've been trying my hardest to improve my current situation, but absolutely nothing has worked this far. Nothing. Going back to school in September, even though I managed to get that scientific high school diploma. What does that mean? Even though I managed to get that scientific, what's a scientific high school diploma? I'd barely graduate anyways. Anyway, I would not be able to make it through college. Dude, I mean, I've been to college. I remember specifically going through classes and meeting some really stupid people. It's not really that hard to get through college. Yeah, working in retail, I failed the pretest. Going to the trades, I suck at solving abstract things, can't understand diagrams, blueprints, etc. Also, I'm too clumsy, suck at manual technical jobs. Wow, now, man, you haven't even tried it. How do you even know you're bad at it? Working for the government, for entry positions, you have to pass a very selective exam. There's also an oral interview. Dude, there's some stupid people in those positions, man. You honestly think you're too dumb for that? It's always this, man. Everything is always like, my life sucks because I'm an idiot. This is like every single post. I hate seeing where my life is headed, into a life I'll never like. Not being able to change anything because everything is too convoluted and challenging for me. Seriously, how do you want to be, or how don't you want to be depressed? Pathetic life. I never asked to be part of this, yet I have to face all the consequences, everything that low IQ entails. It's so unfair. I should have been able to live a normal life. I mean, these people just validate him. I mean, I don't think he's that smart. There's definitely dumber people than him. I remember having to like write an email for people who were working like fast food jobs and they couldn't even string together a paragraph. So really, dude, you don't need to be that smart for like most jobs. This is the one I wanted to read, though. My throat's been sore all day, man. I read about this term doctors sometimes use, shit life syndrome. Ah, man. It's when people feel sick, anxious, or depressed, but the root cause isn't the chemicals in their brain, but life itself. Poverty, stress, bad jobs, loneliness, unstable family situation. All of it adds up. And low IQ is one of those things that can make it harder to escape these conditions, so people get stuck in a cycle. Anyone else suffer from this? I do. Normally would say you're just depressed, but no, it's not that. My life is actually shit. Does that sums up this entire subreddit, man? That sums up this entire subreddit. Let me get some background music in here. I think normally I would play something like, actually, no. I'll have to figure out the background music stuff later because I don't want to have to deal with managing the audio levels. I'm trying to look for some other ones. Anyone that looks funny. The discouragement we face. I'm always told I don't see you doing blank job. I think you should pick a different job. Oh, you want to do that job? Okay. Or jokes about how dumb I am and making me the target constantly, but it's just a joke. Or people lying to make themselves seem kind and saying, oh, you're good at English. I see you as English smart. Who says that? What? What kind of person even says that? I see you as English smart. That's not a thing, especially when it's my friends who know I hate English. They know I hate English. What does that even mean? How do you hate a language? So much, even though I'm terrible at math, I like it more. They know I hate English, and they still say that because in reality, they think I can't do anything and I'm destined to be poor. I can't take it anymore. The job I want to do is accounting. It's not even that hard of a job. Don't get me wrong, accountants should be proud of people, should be proud. Accountants should be proud, but of people think I can't even do an average job. I have no chance. I'm so sad. I don't want to be poor. What? So he's saying the job I want to do is accounting. Okay, well, you said you like math, so that makes sense. It's not even that hard of a job. Like, don't get me wrong. Accountants should be proud. Okay. But of people, what does that mean? Of people think I can't even do an average job. I think it means, but of course, people think I can't do an average job. I think that's what he means to say. It's kind of weirdly worded. You know, there is that sort of thing, right? I mean, I highly doubt these people are as stupid as they claim they are. You know, I just don't think so. I saw this one earlier. Low IQ and dating market. Let's read this one. We'll read this one and then we'll be done. We'll skim this again next time. I'll just bookmark it. Good evening, everyone. Do you think it's possible for guys like us to date? I guess dumb people? For me, something I find quite difficult is driving my date to a restaurant or somewhere else. Thing is, I can barely drive, and I also can't drive with someone in the passenger seat. If they want to talk or keep the conversation going. My point is, I can't drive and talk at the same time. I actually can't even do that well either. I hate driving and talking at the same time. It's just hard to do, you know? Because I'm like super autistic when I'm driving. Like I look at everybody on the road and I try to predict every move they're gonna make constantly. So it's like a super exhausting thing for me. I despise driving. I don't think most other people do that. That's why most retarded illegal immigrants that live in this country that drive, they just go and they don't even care. They just swerve in between lanes, and I want to freaking snap their necks, dude, over being annoying. Not literally, of course, in Minecraft, but you know. Also, I would not be able to parallel park on the left. I can't parallel park, really. It's something I find very challenging. What do you guys think? Having a low IQ truly affects every aspect of life. I don't think that's about having a low IQ, dude. That's just not being able to talk while driving. That's not a low IQ thing. I cannot drive at all. 44 and alone. So he's saying he's going to be alone forever because he can't drive a date. I mean, I thought a lot of Zoomers couldn't even drive. I'm assuming he's pretty young. I don't know. I've never dated, but can't you practice this? I've tried, but no matter what, I just can't improve. Even if I drive with my mother. If she talks to me, I start making mistakes, losing focus. I mean, I talk to myself when I drive, but can't you just tell them to shut up? My mom stops talking when I ask her to. Sometimes she just forgets that I can't talk and drive at the same time. However, if I were with a girl, it'd be so embarrassing. Normies don't understand that I can't keep conversation going while driving. They usually say that with time it becomes second nature, but not to me. I really have to focus intensively. All right, well, I don't really want to read that anymore. Intelligence tests don't measure social skills and manipulation, therefore it depends. I don't think this guy's stupid. I love how they downvote this, man. Isn't driving simple? Even teenagers can learn it. It's not that simple. It's not easy. I mean, driving is not hard to do. It's dealing with other drivers that they make it annoying. Other drivers make it horrible. So don't beat yourself too much over that. Don't beat yourself up too much over that. So I'm pretty sure that Final Vendetta is done now. Let me turn it on. Actually, it's going to be an easy clear, not normal. What's so tiny? I don't want to keep it full screen because then I can't easily change stuff. All right, let's David Duke. All right, let me All right, well, we will see how well that works. So at the moment, I think the only thing going is my audio. We will see how well that works. So at the moment, I think the only thing going is my audio. What is that? Where is that coming from? See how well that works. Okay. All right. Let me get my controller. Let me put the game audio up a little bit more. Probably around 35 or so. That's probably good, I'm guessing. I would be louder than the game, but not too loud. Hopefully that sounds better than last time. So it's not going to actually be a normal mode. I need to verify. Yeah, so you have to clear easy to get the boss rush mode. Clear, it's just complete arcade mode with clear. We'll just do an easy clear. And later on we'll do a hard clear, so let me... It should be possible. I'm not that good at this game, but I've beaten it a couple times. I remember how to play this game. All right. Game is pretty easy on easy. But I do intend on doing a hard. I just want to unlock the boss mode here so that I can actually do training on some of the bosses on hard mode when I do in a hard mode attempt. I do intend on streaming hard mode attempts, so... Eventually I want to go to... what was that game called? There's another beat 'em up that I was playing a while ago. Fight and Rage, yeah, Fight and Rage. That game is harder than this by a decent degree. Alright, let's see. This boss is a little bit... Alright, that was easy. Pretty easy. These Mohawk breakdancing guys I'm not a fan of. I think the knife guys get introduced in this stage. I just had a brain fart there. I should have went kicked her on the ground, but I didn't. The grapes don't heal me. That's kind of weird. I don't want to progress the screen too much. Oh crap. I can't really juggle this guy. It's too fat. Yeah. Stage 2 boss. This guy isn't that bad. Heck. Gotcha. Oh man, dude, my voice is killing me. I'm trying to drink some kombucha to help me. All right. Crap, come on. Alright. Probably shouldn't worry about that too much since I have like 10 friggin' lives here. Game's not too difficult either. On hard, I know it's harder in this stage, especially because of the and I do suck at this boss too. Oh crap. It's like some good jungle music in this boss fight too. Crap. He does so much freaking damage too, man. There it is. I almost always die to this guy at least once. And that just drops your rank down. You lose S. I don't know what it is. My chair makes it uncomfortable to play this game for some reason. These guys are kind of dumb. I mean, they rarely... I mean, maybe they're better on hard or like the hardest difficulty. Freaking muscle women, dude. Oh no. Stupid, man. I did not mean to press that. Not even any point in collecting that health. Honestly, I don't like the paddle. These knife guys, man. Should be health here. Bananas. Why'd I go in his direction? What the heck? I don't know why he went in that direction anyways. That's so random. Yeah, well, I think the higher difficulty boss fight is way harder, obviously. I don't know how to get an S rank in that. No clue, man. The girls are always doing something. The whip girls are always doing something, man. There it is. Oh, there was a health item there. Harver. That's his name. This upcoming part I kind of suck at here. So we'll see what happens. There he is. That guy I have usually kind of struggle with a little bit. Alright, cool. The Brazilian Queens. Oh, crap. What happened there? I was like stuck facing the opposite direction. Oh, I got an extend, so that's nice. I don't know why I got an extend. Well, we'll see about this. This is the last stage, so... Yeah, you can't juggle this guy. Alright. Billy? What the heck? I literally forget when that's gonna happen. Or where those are gonna show up. Alright, sweet. I knew that was gonna fall. Why'd I even go there? My gosh. Why am I dying to this? Oh my gosh, these stupid faggots, man. Like, I know what they're gonna do. They're like, nope, your brain is just like, nope, you don't know what to do. Yeah, of course. I'm a stupid idiot. Oh my gosh, of course. I just waste all my health. These knife guys, if anything, they're the bane of my existence. Knife guys, man. In every single game as a knife guy. Should shove that knife in their own head. Of course. I think it has a lingering hitbox too, so gotta be careful around those things. I guys have so much health. I didn't realize how dangerous those guys can be. Yeah. I really don't like this boss because I hate his animations. It makes it very difficult to read his movements. Yeah, I don't know what the heck is going on. Oh, what the heck happened? There it is. Cool. Definitely not hard. It is easy, I guess, overall. Alright, let's just watch this cutscene, I guess. Give me some juice. Give me those fries. Ah, what a cool ending. Alright. Ranking of C. Not try hard. Alright. $2 million points. So that unlocks the boss rush mode. Pretty cool. Yeah, but that's Final Vendetta, basically. I will probably try doing the hard mode later, but I just wanted to get through that just to try it out. Well, also on this computer. On my other computer, on my laptop, I completed that, but I didn't unlock it here. That's Final Vendetta, but I did want to look at a video and just kind of commentate over it, see how that turns out. Yeah. So we got our free tube thing going on here. This way you don't have to see my YouTube. So use FreeTube if you want a privacy-focused YouTube client. Definitely use FreeTube over the alternatives. Let's pull up some. I don't know. We could try doing some music. Let's pull up one track I like is from Pocky and Rocky, Reshrined, ST Stage 7. Let's see if I can capture that audio. Let's keep it like around there. -35, -40 decibels. And let's watch the video. I haven't really seen this much beside the first like 10 minutes or so. So let's see. Spawn wave.
Over the last few years now, that there is a
Is it recording the audio?
large disconnect that's been forming in the gaming industry, specifically between the gamers and the higher ups and executives at many of these.
I don't think it's picking up the audio. Capture audio. We'll rename this to, let's call it video.
Different gaming companies, and with a recent interview that's now been published.
All right, well, I can't seem to get the audio.
With Sean Layden, that's worked to highlight this further, as well as some troubling data that shows the numbers aren't necessarily backing up the vision that these executives have for the industry.
Oh, okay. So I think it's capturing both. Yeah. I'm assuming it's capturing both because I think it's treating it as like the same application, basically. That seems to be the case. So we'll see.
And sort of the direction that they're pushing in, because these numbers do not look good for them there. But we'll go over all of that here today. So if you guys enjoyed the video, hit the like button, subscribe if you're new. So let's start over here. This is the interview with Sean Layden and GamesIndustry.biz. And here he talked about a few things with the industry, which...
All right. I think it should be fine. Let me just turn down the audio of the game a bit. It is too loud.
I think it's become more and more obvious over the last few years now that there is a large disconnect that's been forming in the gaming industry, specifically between the gamers and the higher ups and executives at many of these different gaming companies.
Oh, really? You mean it wasn't better when it was just a bunch of nerds working in like small teams back like 20 years ago? Nah, it got better after you got a bunch of like Jewish executives involved, you know?
And with a recent interview that's now been published with Sean Layden, that's worked to highlight this further, as well as some troubling data that shows the numbers aren't necessarily backing up the vision that these executives have for the industry and sort of the direction that they're pushing in, because these numbers do not look good for them there. But we'll go over all of that here today. So if you guys enjoyed the video, hit the like button, subscribe if you're new. So let's start over here. This is the interview with Sean Layden and gamesindustry.biz. And here he talked about a few things with the industry, which Sean Layden is an advisor for a few different companies, notably Tencent being the big one. So when he starts talking about this stuff, it's definitely worth paying attention to, because he's giving us some insight or
Yeah, I'm going to turn off the music. You can barely hear it.
small window into, I think, how some of these larger companies are also thinking and strategizing and sort of where they are with some of this stuff. All right. So when asked about $80, he did.
Layden, who was the chairman for the company Worldwide Studios Group when he left Sony in 2019, shared his thoughts on video game pricing and a new feature on gamesindustry.biz. In the topic of game prices increasing to $80, Layden noted that the cost of premium games have stayed the same for the past 20 years, despite the combination of increased development costs and inflation. Yeah, but they don't consider the fact that they're making more money than ever. So this argument that games should get more expensive because it costs more, well, the industry also makes more money than it used to. So that's, I mean, look, you could probably come up with a billion reasons why you should charge $80 for a game, but I just think that in general, $80 is too much. $70 is too much for most of these games. It's not worth it. Most of the gameplay is literally you just walking around and staring at loading screens and walking and watching cutscenes for like 10 hours, man, 20 hours, doing nothing. Take Final Fantasy VII Remake and condense all the gameplay into a 10-hour game and I'll play it. Everything else is a waste of time, okay?
He did note that the cost of premium games had stayed the same for the past 20 years, despite the combination of increased development costs and inflation. However, why haven't people gone to $80? All these companies, he says, I think it's because everyone's afraid. No one wants to be the first one to raise the price because you're afraid to lose traffic. So what you do is just end up eating.
I want to put it at a little bit faster to get through it quicker. 1.25.
Into your operating income or your profit margin. Goes on to say there were more sports cars in parking lot in the PS1 era than there were in the PS4 era, because if you're selling 20 million units at $6 for something that only costs you about $10 million to make, that's different than selling 20 million units at $6, something that costs you $160 million to make.
Yeah, this is like a weird comment too, right? I don't know what he means by more cars in the parking lot. Like, I guess that means they were making more money. Because you were selling $20 million units at $60 for something that only cost you $10 million to make. That's different than selling 20 million units at $60 for something that cost you $160 to make, he explained. Yeah, but that's kind of like not an accurate picture. They're really hiding exactly what the costs that are going into that are. It's not as simple as what they're claiming it is, right? They're saying, oh, we're selling exactly 20 million units at $60. Like the industry, you have a wider revenue base. Like they're making more money out of making more games. Like a lot of these companies have other revenue streams that they utilize nowadays to make more money. And a lot of them are not really ethical. And there's also nothing stopping you, by the way, from making a $10 million game, right? There's nothing stopping you. You're choosing to make $160 million games. And if you just choose not to, what are the gamers going to do? Like they're not going to do it themselves, obviously. So it's kind of stupid.
Now, the PS1 era is mentioned here, and it was not common to sell 20 million copies of something in the PS1 era. Hundreds of thousands of copies was considered successful even back then, though. I mean, it had a lot to do with going to the CD medium that...
Yeah, that's the other thing he brought up. That makes a lot of sense. 20 million units is a lot of units, right? That's like Mario Kart territory, right? That's like Call of Duty, multiple entries territory. That's FIFA territory, maybe. I don't know. Is it FIFA? Does it sell that much? But yeah, it's too much. That's not like no one was actually selling that many units back then. So
saved them quite a bit of money compared to cartridges, which were ridiculously expensive. But that was a really good era, that PS1 era, for some of these companies, because they could fit a lot of data on a disc and not have to spend a stupid amount of money for literally a circuit board they put in a piece of plastic to then sell to you. So the PS1 era, you sell 500,000 copies. You're probably having throwing a parade in the office at that time. Whereas now, that studio is probably gone tomorrow if you sell 500,000 copies. But he does talk a bit about this in the sense that the developers, as he's implying, would have sports cars. But the thing that I think we're all becoming very aware of, especially it's much more transparent now than it was during the PS1 era, and even during the PS4 era, where people are catching on to the idea that, wow, there's a whole system that the money has to trickle through to then get to the developers. And what we end up seeing most times are developers just get laid off. I mean, it's constant now. I mean,
Yeah, because it's a business now, right? I mean, back in the day, yeah, you can have like a John Carmack who buys a Ferrari, right? Because he's like one of like 5 developers working at it, you know? So, of course, yeah, you can afford to buy it because all the money, a lot of that money is just going to him, right? But now it's a corporate system, right? Which means who makes the most money? This dude here who is making these stupid comments, right? Layden, you know?
think about the last 12 months. That's been the news pretty consistently that I've had in Newswave. It's like, okay, well, there's layoffs here, there's layoffs there, and then we get to the end of the year, and there's thousands and thousands of people been laid off. But then you see a lot of the CEOs, for example, Andrew Wilson had $30 million in compensation for last year. But just CEOs across the board there, especially in the tech industry, I mean, I think a median CEO compensation was like 17 or 18 million. So I feel like a lot of people are just becoming much more aware of, okay, even if a game comes out and sold really well, how much money is going to the developer really? Because the real premium right now seems to be just job security. Like, that's the big thing. It's not necessarily, oh, now I can go buy this new Corvette. It's like, okay, I can go to work on Monday still. Now, Sean Layden does say that the game should have increased in price.
You know, people are going to defend CEOs. You see this every once in a while with like people like Griffin Gaming. He'll like, you know, it's a good thing that this guy buys a bunch of sports cars and stuff. You know, the thing is, man, with a lot of these CEOs is these guys are not, you know, these guys did not build a lot of anything, right? Most of these guys, they got money because of nepotism. They got money because they got into it after the actual business was built. They are essentially vultures, right? Vulture capitalists who are benefiting from other people's work that they slaved over. And, you know, a lot of these people from the old game development industry back in the day, they made a lot of money, and then they left. So I don't know, man. I mean, now we lost developers and we've gained CEOs, right? So, I mean, just look at what happened to Rockstar. I think they lost like their last founding member like a couple years ago with I think Dan Houser or something. The guy who, like the last guy that was there before, I think the last game we worked on was Red Dead Redemption 2. And that game sucked. So, good job.
With every new generation, but that instead the industry's mantra has been, as long as we grow, even though we're not making money, somehow we can't die. And so I was trying to think of when he would have started, and I guess it would have been with the PS1 era, which if you go back to that point, you'd see games for $40 to $50 typically, sometimes more. There's a multi-disc game, it could be higher than that, but it would average out to like that $45 to $50 range, somewhere in there. So I guess if we started there and went from PS1 to PS2 I guess should have been 60, and then 360 PS3 would have been 70, then PS4 and Xbox One would have been 80, and now we would have been at $90 games for the PS5. We're at 80 technically because Nintendo pushed for Mario Kart World to get there, but Microsoft tried their hand with Outer Worlds 2, and they had to go back to 70 probably because no one was pre-ordering it. I mean, that's the logical step that you would take. You lower the price or something and try to sell more of it. So at this time, you have that $180 game. We'll see what happens with something like Grand Theft Auto 6. I feel like a lot of people right now in the industry are just waiting to see what that's going to be priced at. But for now, I guess that would be the belief. At very least, he would think that we'd at least be at $80 across the board right now, and we would be legitimately discussing that $100 game in the future, like already. And again, GTA 6 has come up for that. I think that might be pushing it. I think GTA 6 will be $80 personally. I think that's what they're going to go for.
I don't know, man. Again, none of these games are worth that much money. They're just not. I mean, most of the time you're doing nothing. And GTA has not been good since GTA 4. GTA 4 was the last good GTA game. So definitely not looking good for modern day games and gamers, you know, goimers who are wasting countless buku dollars on crap. Really. Just like literally walking in a straight line video game. That's what they're wasting their money on.
Maybe they'll surprise me and they'll though with the strategy that I'll be talking about here soon to sell more copies of it. But he says the cost of construction is just way too high. You're going to spend over $200 million to build a game. Your margins are super tight unless you can expect to sell 25 million units. Unless you're Rockstar, you should not expect to sell 25 million units. Yeah, again, Rockstar.
Again, no one needs to sell 25 million units as long as you're making games on a reasonable budget. You guys make the decisions. You guys make these games as big as you want them to be. I understand it takes a lot of money to make basically a live action Pixar movie in real time game engines. But who asked for that except for stupid people, right? Stupid people ask for that. So why are you listening to stupid people? I don't want my game to look like real life. I want my game to look like a game. But I'm in a minority, apparently. I know I'm in a minority.
Rockstar GTA 6, it's its own thing. It's an outlier. You can't really plan around that if you're another publisher, as in, wow, we can also do that. You really can. There are very few companies that can. Well, okay, so Nintendo probably could get away with it for a Zelda game or a big Mario game. Those are the kinds of things that you can look at and say, that feels like an outlier. You could have Sony with the next big God of War game. You know, that would work. Gran Turismo, that would probably work with how that sells. So what I mean is there are very few instances of it's like a slam dunk, no sweat, we're getting 15 to 20 million sold out of this thing. However, the budgets constantly come up, right? And the question then becomes, okay, if costs keep going up because developers keep getting paid more, which they do, I mean, they're getting paid more with inflation. This is kind of how it works across the board. What do you do? Well, he was quick to respond, and that's good because I definitely would have been bringing this up otherwise. So they've already been kind of moving the median price point up anyway, and he's aware of this. He was there at Sony when it was happening too. You know, that's just the base price hasn't been rising, but there's so many other things that push the price up outside of that. Microtransactions, deluxe editions, battle passes. I mean, there's season passes, early access. Now that's a big thing, isn't it? Games are kind of $80 if you want to be there 2 days in advance or something, or maybe it's $20 more for a week. That seems to be the new strategy now. They have.
You know, what is up with all these like bugmen millennials who are putting all this money into these games? I can't remember the last time I bought a game full price. I think I bought a RoboCop full price, and that was the last game I think I did that. And I think that game was like $50, I think, brand new. So I just don't buy these games brand new. I don't know I don't know who is doing this, who's paying this money. It's really weird.
Have a good release date in mind, and they kind of push it back 2 days, and they get 10 or 20 bucks extra on top of it. So that's the thing that gets me about all this. Games have been more than, you can even say $60, because the 360 and the PS3 era was great because it got everyone connected, and we had digital distribution stuff, and it was also kind of bad because it got everyone connected and got digital distribution. It really is that double-edged sword to where you don't have things like cheat codes anymore because those are sold to you. Experience boosters, that would have been something you would have input a certain combination at the title screen, you would have heard a sound, and all of a sudden you're one-shotting everything and you're getting millions of experience, and oh wow, this is pretty cool, I can just have some fun with this. Not the case anymore. You gotta spend a little more money to accelerate the experience points there. So the idea here, the vision, is that game prices need to keep going up. And that's the thing, keep going up. I don't even know if there's necessarily a roof in mind for the executives or any of the people running these companies, but there's certainly a roof in mind for gamers out there, consumers, people who just want to buy games and play them. There's definitely a spot where they go, maybe I don't need this right now. And you know what it kind of feels like? It kind of feels like it's $80. And look, we tested with GTA 6, as I said, but I have some questions as to where Mario Kart World is going to sell when it's not part of a bundle and it comes in at the $50 difference there. It's just, when you go up $10, it doesn't sound like a lot, but then you think about it a bit more and you're like, okay, how many games then over the course of the generation at 80 would I be buying, and what would that end up coming out to at the end, right? And there's also the thought of, I'm taking a chance on any of these purchases now because it's just not.
You know what's absurd? Nintendo had the Nintendo Selects line like back on the Wii and the 3DS, and they did it for the Wii U too. So I know they did it for those 3 consoles. I don't know if it existed before then, but Nintendo Selects was awesome. By the end of the generation, Nintendo would re-release their games that sold the best. So they re-released like Pikmin 3. Like if you don't remember, Pikmin 3 was like super uncommon, like for a time. I remember specifically I wanted a copy of Pikmin 3, and I went to GameStop, and they didn't have any copies at all, right? And or they had a copy, but it was like $80, like really, like it was like $70 or something, because it was like so uncommon. But there's like a bug in here. But they re-released it later as a Nintendo Selects game, and it was $20. So I picked it up then. They did the same thing with Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, I think, or Donkey Kong Country Returns, I think. And they did the same, I think, for like Luigi's Mansion and Mario and Luigi games, and you know, all the Mario games. Like they re-released all of them at $20. Like that was what Nintendo did. I know a lot of you Zoomers out there are like, oh, you're a brokey because you don't want to spend $80 on a game. Oh, what are you, poor? What are you, broke? I don't know where these guys are getting money. Drug dealing? Because where the heck are you getting this money to waste on this crap? But yeah, you could buy a basically a new Nintendo game for $20. But they don't do that anymore. So now Mario Kart 8 is still $60. I don't think Mario Kart ever got on Nintendo Selects, did it? Let me actually check. Let's go on the low IQ subreddit to see if it sold for 80 bucks or 20 bucks. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Nintendo Selects. Did it ever go on Nintendo Selects? No, I don't even think it ever went on Nintendo Selects. Wii U. No, I don't think it did. Although it's way cheaper. They actually did. You can actually pick it up right now for 28 bucks on Amazon. Refurbished. What does that mean? But yeah, you can get the Wii U version. You can even buy the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe bundle Wii U for $222.99. So yeah, that's a thing. So I don't know, man. There's no reason why these games should be this expensive.
Not guaranteed. So we have these expectations of companies that continue to rise, and they seem insurmountable for studios. One example was it's been memed to death now, but Square Enix. And here's like Tomb Raider. I remember this one very, very well, right? Tomb Raider sold 3.4 million copies and it failed to hit expectations. This was in 2013, by the way, so we're talking about stuff now. This was 12 years ago. Which, I mean, that's wild to think about. What happened though was Square Enix had like their fiscal quarter, I believe. And what happened was they had Hitman Absolution, Sleeping Dogs, and Tomb Raider 2013. They just piled it together and they were looking for a certain number of 14.9 million retail game sales, not digital, counted in that. And they came out to 8.75 between 3 games. And Tomb Raider sold 3.4 million copies in 4 weeks to help out and try to get it there. That's just, those are the meme-worthy Square Enix expectations. I know. But this kind of, I mean, I was go back to this was like completely foreshadowing the industry now and how companies can come out.
It's so insane, dude. This era was horrible, right? Although Sleeping Dogs wasn't too bad, I guess, but Hitman Absolution wasn't that good. It was literally just copying Hitman. It was copying Splinter Cell Conviction, and Tomb Raider was just copying Uncharted. So Sleeping Dogs was the only game that actually had any ounce of originality and creativity. But you know what happened to that franchise? That's a shame, really. What Square Enix did, and a Hitman. I don't know. Tomb Raider definitely fell off hard, but Hitman. Some people like the new ones.
Come out, sell millions of copies, and it's a disappointment. And then you hear about how all of a sudden that studio is just turn 10 is cut in half. So, oh, wow, okay, jeez, they were rolling with Microsoft, Microsoft's most popular games ever made, really at that point with the Forza franchise. So now the thing we have to think about, especially if you're older, for me, I think about games as you buy the product, you go home, you play it. Maybe a single player game, you play through it. If it's multiplayer, play online with some friends. Maybe there's a campaign. Remember those days? There was a campaign with your multiplayer game box. It was crazy, right? It was right there with the manual. But it's pretty straightforward transaction. Now it's completely different. There's so many things that can pull your attention. Back with the PS1, PS2 days, you went to the store and what was there is what you bought. Then we got more connected, and now everything pulls your attention. It's not even just video games. With video games, it's like streaming, it's social media. There's so much stuff happening. And I saw this and I thought, that's not good. So this was shared by Matt Piscatella over on his social media account. He says video game spend among 18 to 24-year-olds is down sharply. So this would be the Gen Z. And young grads are having a much tougher time finding jobs, student loan payments, or restarting for millions of borrowers, credit card delinquency rates have risen, naming a lot of the stuff right now and just
oh my gosh. Yeah, this makes a lot of sense. Video game spending amongst 18 and 20. That actually makes sense though, because I'm sure a lot of them are playing free-to-play games at this point. If they don't have any money, I mean, how are they going to afford video games? Although it seems like they're just not buying anything. Right? That seems to make sense to me. They're not buying video games, accessories, appliances. Yeah, because they don't own houses. Why would they buy furniture? Or total general merchandise? What does that even mean? Like Funko Pops?
The economic climate that would be causing people to not have as much disposable income. But also, I just think there are other things. Like you can see here, video games down almost 25% 18 to 24-year-olds. So when I see that, right? So I'm a millennial. And so my age group came up with the internet first. Like we remember when the internet came around, okay? And I remember when the internet went from dial-up to broadband, and then now we're like super speed broadband. It's crazy. But back then in high school, we were just on Newgrounds. You know, that's where it was. Social media, I missed that completely in high school, which is great. If you're in high school now, man, I have a ton of sympathy. That's crazy to go through high school with Instagram and Facebook and Twitter X, TikTok, all this stuff. It's like it never ends. Back when I was in school, you'd leave on Friday and you were gone for 2 days. You're not necessarily have to interact with people if you don't want to who were at school, and then you go back on Monday and have to deal.
Do people really care about social media in high school? I highly doubt that. I mean, really, I don't think my brother cared. By the time I left high school, social media was just becoming a thing that teenagers would use. And that was like back in like 2013. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, smartphones were just beginning to be widely adopted at that point anyway. So a different time, I guess.
Deal with it. But it's like it never ends. It's crazy. So with that in mind, though, the point is, a lot of gamers now coming up have other things they can play or do. So one of those things would be free-to-play titles, and Sony has already told us that half their market on PlayStation Network is, like, the revenue comes in is made up of those games. It's the other half, so it's like 53% are free-to-play games. The microtransactions, the extra spend beyond just downloading it, is what they're getting that money from. The other 47% are the premium price games you actually buy and you play, and that's it, right? Single-player games, that kind of thing. And so now I'm seeing those be overtaken by the free-to-play games, and then you start to realize, yeah, you know what? 18, 24-year-olds, they're probably not necessarily sitting there with a ton of additional income that they can just throw around and buy the more expensive games, and then here come the $80 games, you know, and that's kind of the situation you run into. And that's the biggest thing here that Sean Lay didn't touch on it with. Maybe, I don't know if you realize or not, no one's been the first one to raise price because they're afraid to lose traffic. That's what would happen, is people just stop buying games. They'll find other things to do. They'll play Fortnite, they'll play Apex Legends, they'll play
I mean, really, in my case, I just play older games. I play retro games, I play indie games. There's a market where you can just spend very little money on games or just wait for there to be a sale. So, you know, there's always a way to spend less money on games. I just don't really see the demand for $80, right? It's like, just wait, right? Yeah, if you're impatient, right? There's this whole thing, the patient gamer thing, you know, so be a patient gamer, I guess. I don't know.
Call of Duty Warzone, and they'll be content with it because those have become very much social experiences for them with their friends. So it's kind of a way for them to hang out while also playing games and just chatting back and forth, you know, online. So what happens now is these games continue to go up and up in price, and people get priced out, and then they grow up not necessarily even relying on premium price games to play like we did back with the PS2 and even earlier 360 PS3 days, like going to minute releases and stuff. That's all gone. Sean Layden did also push back a bit on the idea of subscription services, namely Game Pass, and he doesn't seem to like the idea of this subscription service existing and training customers on that platform to not buy games. That has been something that's been coming up for a while. However, I actually like Game Pass quite a bit, specifically because it does give at least people out there who, like, this is a great path for them to play games at more affordable price of, say, $20 a month for all the new titles and stuff to come out from Microsoft, and even some interesting indie titles, and occasionally a Claire Obscura Expedition 33 that drops in. But I like it because it's also very disruptive in the market. It does feel like something where, they're adapting to the current environment, which we just went over, where a younger generation coming in doesn't necessarily have the money to go out and buy $80 games, $70 games constantly.
I feel like these kind of markets don't really benefit smaller creators, though. That's the biggest problem with them. I've heard that if you're like an indie game developer, these don't really help you. It's mostly just a place for developers to offload a lot of their older titles, right? And then just skim out the rest of their value out of them, right? But I know they put like Doom, the Dark Ages on here, but who knows? Who knows how that would have done without Game Pass, right? That's the thing. So it kind of distorts how actually successful a game is. I mean, how much of its success was driven by Microsoft just straight up buying the rights, I guess, to put it on Game Pass or whatever. However that whole market works. I mean, I'm assuming Microsoft gets some money or, you know, puts some investment into putting these games on the platform, but I don't know.
Yes, Microsoft is kind of taking a bet, saying, okay, it's $20 a month, so we are going to bet that we will get $240 a year from you, which would be more than maybe you would spend on games throughout the year otherwise. But looking at it from the perspective of someone who maybe subscribes for a couple of months, maybe over the course of a summer, for example, it's a pretty good deal. It's a good option. Doesn't necessarily keep people from buying games, though, because this is something people tend to forget a lot. You could still buy games on the Xbox. Just because you have Game Pass doesn't mean you can't go, oh, wow, I would like to have that game. And then you go out like I did and bought Claire Obscura Expedition 33 physically. And trust me, I know there's a whole conversation around how this works into video game economics and developers' compensation, and is this good for the long term?
You know, why do people keep calling it Claire Obscura's Expedition 33? I mean, what other Expedition 33 is there, right? Just say Expedition 33. It's like saying Sid Meier's Civilization. No one says that. They just say Civ. They just say Civ, right? Civilization, Civ, right? Or like Bram Stoker's Dracula. I guess kind of, because, you know, Bram Stoker, it's like it's a specific interpretation of Dracula, but in general, it's so weird, right? Or Clive Barker's Cthulhu, Call of Cthulhu, or whatever. That one actually makes more. In those instances, it makes more sense. I'm kind of contradicting myself here, but Claire Obscura's. I mean, who's Claire Obscura? You know, I don't know who that is. Is that a real person? Hey, Jamie, who's Claire Obscura? Hey, ChatGPT, who's Claire Obscura? Claire. I can't see my keyboard. Claire Obscure. Obscure. That's what they call themselves. Claire Obscure. Who is this guy? Who is Claire Obscure? Let's see, who is Claire Obscure? Can AI do this? It doesn't tell me who Claire Obscure is. The meaning behind the name. Translated from French, Clair Obscur means twilight in English, but that's a literal translation. I thought that was like the person who made the game. It's like, I thought that was like the creator of it. like Claire Obscures, but no, it's called Claire Obscure Expedition 33. Isn't that weird that it's called Expedition 33 though? Freemasons.
Term health of the industry. I get all that. But right now, looking at it from the side of gamers who maybe are trying to save money versus, as we've seen a lot of higher ups and executives and publishers trying to take a ton of money from gamers. Yeah, I mean, Game Pass makes a ton of sense in the world for the customers. And while we're on the topic of this Game Pass subscription service being detrimental to the gaming industry when it comes to buying habits, you kind of have to look over at the free-to-play section as maybe being more influential right now because it does bring in more than half of the revenue based on Sony's recent financial report for their entire storefront on the PlayStation. So that to me seems like a bigger market mover than Game Pass existing. And so I think about what could be done here, and it's interesting. I do believe that we had a bit of a disruptor earlier this year, and I feel like some of these companies had to have noticed this. Expedition 33, that is a game that came out, and it's $50, right? It's one of the best rated games of the year. People are super happy with it. They are happy. That being the team that made it, and then the publisher and stuff. They're all happy with more than 3 million copies that sold, and all of this. None of this computes, by the way, with everything we've said here. So they are very much their own outlier from the industry. But you start to think, is it a good idea to go rather than forward to like $70 or $80? To start thinking more about those $50 experience from the get go. Like as you start creating and developing these games, do you think, okay, let's try to fit within this $50 box?
The biggest problem is imagine how much better it would have been if, you know, they made Expedition 33 and they made the game more like interesting, right? Like instead of like making the game look nicer or higher fidelity, they would have picked a completely different art style that would have even been more efficient to make. And they would have had a smaller production scale. So they didn't have like all this insane 3D graphics or this insane like modern graphics. And they would have made something that was more like mechanically interesting or more like, you know, more interesting just in terms of systems or something for JRPGs, right? Something that's more unique than just making like a kind of AAA experience, but for a little bit less money. Because you could see how it's on the lower end of the budget, right? When you're comparing it to something like Final Fantasy VII. So I think it would have been better if they just took a bigger risk, right? But I guess you can't, right? When you're making that much money.
And not overextend on budgets. And then maybe, yes, look, we already know what's going to happen with these games. They're going to have post-spend where they're going to sell you things. We know this. But if the game comes out at $40 or $50, there is sort of that feeling of, oh, yeah, they're meeting us in the middle with this. It's not $80. Oh, and then look at all these microtransactions. So the idea then being, is it better to sell 4 or 5 copies versus 2? You know, like for every one you sell, we'd rather sell 2 at 50 rather than 1 at 80. And most people answer 2 at 50. So I just think the $50 price point makes a lot of sense, especially right now, because I'm not even someone who's really that interested in everything going free to play, and it's super easy to get in, but then you could spend thousands of dollars on microtransactions. Like, nah, I don't really want those experiences. But I did like the Claire Obscure Expedition 33 experience. That was good. And it was $50, and I played it on Game Pass, and you know I was like, I get the physical copy at $50, and I picked that up. So that to me,
yeah, man, but you're the outlier, right? Nobody's doing that. Nobody. If you buy it, or if you buy Game Pass and you play it on Game Pass, you're not going to buy a physical copy of it. You're like a weirdo who does that. Most people are not going to think of doing that. Most people are going to be like, "Oh, I played the game, I'm done. That's it." Right? So I know these like gamers, they think like everybody thinks like them, but like, dude, I mean, nobody does, right? It's you guys are a minority. Okay, people who actually are buying games, we're becoming a minority, I guess. And I don't even buy games all the time, so you know.
I think should be the strategy going forward. But I think it's so disconnected right now that a lot of these companies, especially some of the higher ups, are just waiting. They're waiting to go to 80. They're just, where's GTA 6? Get them in here so we can. If they push for 90, we'll come in at 80. You know, that's waiting for that to be normalized because 70 kind of became normalized. So eventually maybe 80 will. Unless that really is that breaking point in terms of the price, and it just never will be. But I was thinking about this a lot, seeing these things pop up, and also seeing the data from the younger generation coming in who maybe aren't as interested in just going out and buying the $80 game, even the $70 game day one, because well, they can just play Fortnite. So let me know what you guys think about this though down below in the comments. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.
All the Zoomers, dude, they ain't having it. They ain't having it, man. They don't want to spend that much money. But yeah, man. I guess that's mostly it then. Yeah, don't buy games for $80. That's a waste of money. I think that's mostly it. I just want to cover that video, do some live playthrough of Final Vendetta, and yeah, I'm gonna be working towards getting a hard clear in that game, so I might do some streaming tomorrow, doing some training on certain levels of there. I'm gonna try to do like a hard clear and see if I game over. So we'll see how that works out. I still have a couple games installed on GOG, like Panzer Dragoon Remake. Yeah. That's about it. So yeah, I'll probably stream tomorrow.